Welcome to This Organized Life. If you're a mom, wife, or coffee lover seeking advice on how to reduce clutter and reclaim time, look no further than your host, Lori Palau, founder of Simply Be Organized and author of Hot Mess, a practical guide to getting organized. For a lot of people, clutter is their dirty little secret, but it doesn't have to be. Each week, we will share practical tips, chat with experts, and provide strategies on how to keep you organized. I hope that by sharing our stories, you feel a little less alone and more empowered to tackle the areas that are holding you back. So let's get started.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of This Organized Life podcast. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and I'm so glad that you're here joining us. We are working through, if you've been listening to us, we've been working through this kind of room by room series. And, you know, the start of the new year, a lot of times people want to put their best foot forward and say, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the time I'm going to do this. But they don't always have the tactical skills of knowing what to do. And there's so many different rooms and areas that people want to get organized. And so I've been trying to just come up with some of your more commonplace ones, but also think of some kind of out of the box areas that we overlook, but are really, really important. And when I tell you and introduce you to today's guest, you're going to totally understand why. So today we're going to be talking about baby prep and nursery organization. And even if you don't have kids or you don't have little ones at home, like these are great tips and strategies if you've got friends, neighbors, coworkers, whatever. So even if this doesn't apply to you in your season of life, it's really some great takeaways. So I'll tell you a little bit about the ladies I'm going to be bringing out. So they're the co-owners of a company called Rooms, plural, Rooms to Breathe. And they're based in like the Huntsville, Alabama area. And they're two best friends. And I love their story. And they're going to tell you a little bit about it. Mary Beth and Megan, and they are neighbors, friends, and they both have little kids. But what's really interesting, and again, they're going to kind of dive deep into this, is they both come from a healthcare background. One of them was a nurse practitioner. The other one was a speech pathologist. So they have kind of that healthcare background. And they started their business a couple of years ago, and they'll kind of give you the origin story. But one of the things that they started realizing was a lot of their clientele was kind of new moms and people that were in that season of life. And for anybody listening out there that is bigs like me, might seem like 100 years ago, but like, you know, there's so many moving parts when it comes to all that has to go into from the physical and the practical stuff, and then all of the just logistical things that need to happen when you're in that kind of pre-planning as well as that postpartum, you know, arena. So when I was chatting with the ladies about what will be a good room topic, and they said, well, this is like kind of a niche area that we specialize in. And I loved it because it's something a little bit different and something, again, that we often don't take the time to pause and think about. And they're really going to unpack it here. And they're just so sweet and adorable and smart. And I'm going to bring them out now. So without further ado, let me welcome my guests for today's show, Mary Beth Bartlett and Megan McDowell. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So
I'm
excited.
Well, I'm excited because obviously you guys, you're just fun. And I love the whole origin story, which you guys can, you know, share with our listeners. And again, as I said in the introduction, this is a really, in all seriousness, like this is a very important topic. And, you know, a lot of times we think about organization in the very practical, like, okay, we're organizing a kitchen, a closet, a pantry, and that's all great. But there's all of these other areas in our lives that require a level of intentionality. And I think that's what This Organized Life podcast is really all about, is kind of shining light on all these different areas. So I gave our listeners a top line overview, but in your own words, we'll just let each of you guys just announce who you are so they can kind of put a voice to a name, and just tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay. I'm Megan. I am a Huntsville native. Well, we're both Huntsville natives, actually, but I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. It's North Alabama. It was actually, we were recently voted the #1 city to live in the country by USA Today. We're very proud to live here.
Wow.
I know, very fancy. It's a wonderful place to live. So I grew up here, and my family, my parents and my brother still live here, and his family. So I get to see my nephews a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. I went to Auburn, War Eagle, for undergrad and grad school, and I got my degree in communication disorders as a speech language pathologist. I immediately started working. I did the bulk of my career in home health, in the home health setting. So you go into people's homes and provide treatment, and mostly in my case for adults, primarily with like neurologic issues. So things like traumatic brain injuries and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, and things that affect cognition, and things like executive function and impulsivity and time management. So mental organization, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I think that setting probably really opened my eyes to how much your home environment really can affect how independent you can be, at certain points in your life. And so then I met my husband. He is lovely, and we got married, and we have 2 boys, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, same as Mary Beth. Yep. Actually. We have kids the same age, and
we met in 2020 when we both moved to the same neighborhood.
Yes. During the start of the pandemic, I moved to this lovely little mountain community, and Mary Beth was my neighbor, and that's how we met.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your kind of backstory, Megan, and kind of how you guys then, we know you got together when you met and became neighbors, but give us a little bit of backstory for you.
For Mary Beth. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I say Megan? I'm going to screw that up. I'm going to screw it up. I'm sorry, listeners.
We respond to either name, actually.
I'm sure. Mary Beth. Yes, I'm sorry.
Well, and my family's here. I went off to Alabama for college, went to nursing school, and became a nurse, and went back for graduate school at UAB and became a nurse practitioner. I've been working in that field for the last almost 10 years, mostly in oncology and hematology, so dealing with cancer patients.
I mean, both had like really heavy jobs. Like you're with cancer, you're dealing with traumatic brain injury. Like this was not like, oh, we're in the maternity ward. Like, peace.
So I think, coming from these really intense work environments kind of shone a light on, the fact that we needed a peaceful home environment, coming home from that kind of stress. It was really important to feel like things were under control and peaceful at home. So that was, part of the organization, but I've always been organized since I was a little kid. My brother used to jokingly call my room the museum because you weren't allowed to touch anything.
That is so funny.
And, so anyhow,
she comes by it very honestly.
I do. It's within me. Yes. So my husband and I moved back to Huntsville as well. Once we had kids, we have 2 boys as well. They're 3 and 5.
So many boys.
And met Megan, and we've been on this journey of launching this business and organizing people's homes.
So just because, again, and especially if you're new to our show, we've got, in addition to people that are looking to get organizing strategies, which I promise you people we will get to, we also have a lot of women entrepreneurs who listen to our show. And whether they're in a season where maybe they're a stay-at-home mom and they're looking to maybe get back into the workforce, or maybe they want to do a career shift. And we saw this a lot during the pandemic where people, I think across many industries, decided to reevaluate their priorities, their lives, the way that they spent their time, and all the things. And professional organizing had experienced a huge boom. And so if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that was around the time that you guys started your business. So I'm just wondering if you could just kind of walk through, you became friends and neighbors, you both had these other careers, you had little kids. What made you decide this is something that we want to join forces and actually do professionally?
Yeah. So I think we both got pretty burned out in healthcare, to be honest.
It was a rough time.
It was an extremely stressful time to be in healthcare and to be raising young children and trying to balance, okay, the daycare is closed because,
COVID.
We've got COVID. And, I need to be there for them. I need to be there for my job. And the stress just became, I think, too much to bear for both of us, to the point where you couldn't continue on that path. And then Megan had started, exploring getting into professional organizing. And when I heard, I said, oh, well, you need to bring me along.
I'm hopping on that bandwagon. And
and at first I was kind of like, I don't know, this feels like something I kind of want to do by myself because I'm like a little bit of a control freak, but then, the more conversations that we had around it, the more I was like, oh no, you're exactly what I need. Like, because we're different. She is organizing. Like she is like, it is like in her marrow of her bones. Like she's just, but I kind of had to learn. I'm not as intuitive with, and I'm not as minimalist either. We just have kind of different philosophies, and we kind of came to organizing in a different way. And I think that is a real strong suit for us now, because, we sort of look at things from two different perspectives. So anyway, it's exactly what I needed.
No, and that's great. And I think, again, there's such a spectrum within the organizing world, and people respond also to different types of support. Some people want that tough love, direct approach like I give, and other people want a little bit more coddling and someone that's going to like really just sit in it with them. And not that you guys are necessarily like that extreme, but I think it's
no, that's pretty much, you nailed it.
I think it's really nice because then you can meet people where they are and know when one needs to kind of take the lead and the other one needs to kind of, pump the brakes a little bit. So I think it's great. And, as somebody that runs a business by herself, it's nice to have a partner that you guys can bounce ideas off of, because it sometimes you're like, okay, I'm
it can be lonely.
So, but let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. So you started this business, and, if you guys go to their website, and we'll of course link up to everything, it obviously it's very tactical in terms of the things that you do to help your people. But there's also this really big emphasis on caring and nurturing and looking at it from a perspective, not just the physical clutter, but also mental and emotional. And anybody that's been around us, we talk about 3 different types of clutter. So there's a lot of synergy there. Just wondering how you came to that, and maybe just talk a little bit about that so that people listening can maybe get their, light bulb moments going.
I think coming from healthcare backgrounds, we're both caregivers. We've been caring for people in our jobs for so long, and talking to people and asking them questions and really trying to figure out how, whatever they're going through is affecting their physical health as well as their mental health and their emotional health, because we're really not going to be healthy unless we're, healthy in all those departments. And so, caring for people for years in healthcare, I think has helped us both. Just know that we can't just organize people's drawers. That's not going to fix the problem. They need support, and they need, thoughtful questioning about, like, what do you want to feel like? What do you want your home to feel like? Is this serving you, and help guide them through it and validate, what they're going through, whatever it is and how they got to this place, and help them kind of work through it, rather than just coming in and saying, well, we made your pantry beautiful, goodbye,
which has its place, but it just doesn't
there's more than that.
There's more.
And we talk about that all the time here. It's the so that, right? It's the why, what's the purpose? And you know what I mean? It's so that I can have freedom to, so that I don't lose my temper because I'm running around like a crazy person looking
so that
I
have more time with my kids.
So that I have more time with my kids. And so, and I would imagine, just because of your backgrounds in healthcare and specifically dealing with people that are going through really heavy stuff, it probably helps to kind of refocus what real priorities are. And that, I get it that you having the playroom be a disaster is stressful. In the grand scheme of things, what's really important. And so I'm sure that that's a really great gift that you can give to your clients. But when we were chatting, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's you go. I was just gonna say, working in oncology and just kind of watching folks not have as much time as they thought they would. And it just kind of brings it back to, how are you spending your days? Is that how you want it to be? Because we don't get as many days as we might think. And we need to spend them doing the stuff that matters. And that's just at the heart of what we want to help people. We want to help them, feel emboldened to spend their time doing what matters and getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about something that I think it's probably okay to talk about, because I read it in your bio, so I'm assuming it's fair game to talk about.
Yeah.
It's fair game to talk about. And it has to do with, which is going to kind of lead into, I think, a little bit of what our topic is today. Megan, you talked about struggling with some of your own postpartum anxiety. And I was just wondering if you could walk us through that experience, and you could be as top line or detail as you want, and then how organization kind of wove into that story for you.
Sure. Yes, I'm happy to talk about it because I think we should talk about it more.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think I was just really, I've never struggled with anxiety or depression before. So I was just sort of really taken aback. Like I didn't know what it was. I kind of just assumed that, well, I guess this is motherhood, because it was after the birth of my first son and I just didn't know any better. I was like, okay, well, I guess this is what life is now, and I was just I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed with, mine really kind of hit when I went back to work full time. While I was home, I think I was able to sort of do enough self-care and have the time to myself that I needed to kind of keep the boat steady. And then when I went back to work, it was like I was trying to pump and my body hated the pump, and like, I missed my baby, and like it was just, I was trying to care for these other people in their homes and I was barely taking care of myself,
And you're sleep deprived. I mean, there's all the things like, even if you're not suffering from any type of official postpartum, you're just, it's chaos. You're in a fog.
It is. Yeah. It is chaos.
It's a really hard time.
Yep.
And no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said it. It's chaos. It's just, you're kind of trying to acclimate to this whole new life. And I think for me, organization kind of played in that, like, I had to find ways to find time to make myself feel like myself again. Like you have to find time. And so the way for me to find time to take care of myself so that I could then take care of the people that I adore is, to pare back on lots of things, possessions, as you talk about, calendar clutter, right?
Yeah.
Like, I just had to start saying no to a lot of things, and trying really hard not to feel guilty about that, because that's hard.
Did you find that when you started saying no, or I'm going to simplify and streamline these other things so that like I could just reserve my energy for the stuff that really matters, that catapulted you? Like, was that, did that kind of start the wheels turning? And I'm not trying to throw you like an underhanded pitch. I'm just really trying to think about, because I know for myself, organization, when I first started, like, it's a level of control. It's like, I can control this, right?
Yes.
I can control this.
Yes.
So for me, I think that helped me. And I'm just wondering for you, like, when you feel like there's other stuff out of control, like, this is something that I feel empowered to do.
Right.
Yep. You said it, sister.
I think motherhood for both of us was kind of that catalyst. It was like all of a sudden, the thing that I was maintaining control over pretty well, I can't maintain control over anymore without getting rid of some things, physically and, otherwise. And so I think for both of us, that transition was just so, such an overwhelming and transformative time. And what we've tried to do now that we're looking back more or less on that huge transition is to help other moms through it, through getting their homes in order so that they can manage, their new life and maybe even enjoy it.
Yeah. So I know that there's kind of several different ways that you've done this, like that you kind of have the pre before the baby comes, and you have the post after the baby arrives, and like, and I just love it because it's such a different, unique spin, but that it should be like, duh, why are we not doing it? And maybe people are doing it and it's just kind of incorporated organically, but you have actually kind of shown a spotlight on it, like highlighted, this is what we're doing with this purpose in mind. And so maybe you could just walk through, like, step by step what that actually entails.
Yeah. So this is our weird little baby that we love very much and are very proud of. It's our favorite thing
It's
to
our
do in
favorite
our
package.
business. So
Mhm.
we do a homecoming package, and we go into the home while the parents are at the hospital having the baby.
So we set it all up beforehand, right? We do
Right.
pre-interviews and get grocery lists, and we're all ready to roll. We're on call, as they
So
say.
the mom knows this is happening. This is not like a
Most of the time.
surprise. This is
Yeah.
okay. I'm just
Because
trying
we kind of
again.
need her input, a
Right.
fair amount. So we haven't done a surprise yet.
Not yet. We usually have the support person just text us, hey, we're in labor, baby's coming. And then we, go the next day or that day, whenever it works out. But we launch while they're in the hospital.
So what does that look like? So they're there and you're doing your little magic at that. So what is that? What's happening?
So we start with we set up a really nice little entryway station with like a very pretty like printed, welcome to our home. We're so happy to introduce.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to interrupt you because I want to actually go back before we talk about the magic of what's happening. And I want to actually talk about the let's talk about the start. Like, how does that? Because I think that's going to be actually really important because it's all about the pre-planning and I guess kind of like setting the goals of what is it that you're trying to achieve. So when you get the call from an expectant mom or spouse or whatever, like, we're going to need help. What is that? Like, you have a sit down intake meeting or whatever. Like, I'm curious what that process looks like.
Yeah. So it obviously depends on the mom, right? We've had, we had one that is a nurse. So she was like very well prepared for some of the more like medical aspects, but, and most of the time it's first time moms, although, we have done, mothers of multiples because who has time to nest when you have 3 kids? Like you don't have time.
Yeah.
Or even one. Yeah. Any amount of children.
Yeah.
So we usually kind of sit down with them, both them and their partner, and kind of ask, what is important to you? Where are you going to be nursing? Where do you guys hang out as a family? What kinds of foods do you like to eat?
Are you going to have lots of visitors after the baby comes, or are we kind of locking it down? How germ averse are we? That kind of thing.
Right.
And what special treats, especially because we like them to come home to something that makes them feel taken care of and special, because it's a huge deal for the mom. And, the babies, they get fussed over a lot, and moms just kind of get overlooked sometimes. So we try to make mom feel like you have done something amazing. You are an amazing person. You are going to be great, and you're worth caring for. So we, a lot of it, we don't necessarily unpack all the details for the mom because we just want her to not worry. And we, go have your baby, and we promise this is going to be great. You're going to love this.
I would imagine, especially if you're dealing with new moms, they might not even know what questions to ask or what they need because they've never been through this. It's like uncharted waters. They just know, like, okay, it's coming. And you don't even know. So then you get the call. Okay, we're at the hospital or we're going into labor, or whatever. And then walk us through what comes next.
Okay. So you were talking about the entryway station.
Yes. So we do a little entryway station, obviously dependent on sort of how many visitors, they're anticipating that they're going to have. We make sure we put out, like some little treats and some hand sanitizer because in a gentle way, we would love to remind everyone that you should sanitize your hands before you pick up that baby. So, we do that. And then we usually kind of move into the kitchen. We stock their fridge with things that they have pre-chosen, as well as things that we just know that they're going to need.
So like what? Give me a couple of examples.
So we like to do a turntable in the fridge because we like to introduce a little bit of organization. Like if they're not, and if they're not already super, super organized, we try to like inject some organization where we can. So we put a nice divided turntable in the fridge. We put cheese sticks, we put oranges, we put
granola bars,
all the high protein one-handed snacks, because mom is going to be holding that baby. She needs a one-handed snack that she can, go get that from the fridge for me. I need to eat that right now. We stock just an absurd amount of hydration options.
So many liquids,
bubbly water.
You got to.
Are they all non-alcoholic?
No.
No,
because if that's your thing, like if you ever deserve a glass of champagne, it is after having a baby.
For sure. for sure.
We do a snack basket full of, all kinds of treats and healthy things that are going to help mom with lactation and breast milk production and just healing after birth, because mom is healing. She's been through a lot and she needs to drink and she needs to get the protein and she needs to take the stool softener and she needs to, take care of herself.
Oh God, I'm like having flashbacks.
I know it's taking you back, isn't it?
It's taking me back. I'm like screaming back. And so I love that it's like you're incorporating the elements of organization, but it's not necessarily the forefront, right? You're trying to just how can we simplify all of the things for you? How can we, like you said, like I love the fact that you're thinking ahead, like let's just get one-handed snacks that you can grab and go, because again, who has time to chop, prep all these things?
We do.
That's the answer. We put nice little containers of fresh fruit that are already pre-chopped and you can just grab them and eat a healthy snack. And we also do a rolling nursing cart. Of course, we love a cart. In every project we do.
Carts are amazing.
We just love carts.
Carts are amazing. I've done them for clients. I wish they had them, and they weren't like super popular back in the day when I had my girls, but I used to have multiple changing stations because I didn't want caddies, and I just had them in like decorative baskets. But now I love like those 3-tier carts. They're perfect because you could put everything. You could put diapers, you could put extra onesies, because we all know the baby's going to like poop up their back and you're going to have to change
100%.
pounds, and all those things, which I love. And so is it like a one-stop thing? Like you come, we are like elves and then we leave, or is there support ongoing? Walk us through kind of like after you do that initial welcome.
So we get out of the way and we try to pretend like, we were never there. It's kind of just a magical, we're in, we're out. You come home and you have all the things that you might not have known you needed, like ice packs for your groin and,
and the stool softener. We want to be like those weird little ants that, sort of like, tell you maybe a little too much information, but also prepare you for all the things that no one told you, that you needed to know. And then, maybe like a combination of that and a fairy godmother. Sort of comes and we do a peri-care kit in the bathroom.
And a caddy so they can carry from bathroom to bathroom. So you've got a nice handle and it's got all the supplies that you need. We hang eucalyptus in the shower because when mom takes that first shower after having a baby, it should smell like eucalyptus. Yes, it should.
Gosh, where were you? I don't have anybody right now that's having babies. That ship sailed for me. Next thing it's going to be like my daughter's kids, because that'll be coming up. But I feel like this is like such an amazing gift for somebody to be able to say. Now, obviously, just like when you talk about organization, like hiring a professional organizer to come and organize your space, not everybody wants that, right? Some people would be like, wait a second, I might not want it. So it has to be something like knowing the audience. Is this somebody that would appreciate this, or would they feel like this is intrusive? Which I don't, but some people, they don't like that kind of stuff. So
you can kind of make it as like, there have been a couple nurseries where we focused really heavily on the organization because they were like the actual organization of the nursery.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
We have all this stuff and we don't know what to do with it, and then other people really just want you to come in and set up the stations and the kits and less organization and more sort of prep.
Right. And I was going to labor. And I was going to ask, just to kind of pivot, because there is also something to be said about the actual organization of the nursery itself. How do you set it up with all of the little things that there's so many little things that people say, oh, it's just a baby, but like they do come with a lot of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm wondering from that perspective, because you do also do more traditional, and I'm air quoting, organization. And obviously that is one of the spaces. Are there some specific kind of things that you do that you could share with our listeners that might be like good takeaways and tips and things that you think about?
Megan is the nursery organizing wizard. When we go into a house, I'm like, Megan, you'll be in the nursery, right? I'll go do the other stuff. She's great.
I love it. Oh, I love it. So I think something that we run into a fair amount that's kind of something sort of interesting is a lot of people are using dressers as changing tables, right? These like dressers. something to think about is you want to maybe check before you purchase one to make sure that if you want to house your diapers in the dresser, like in that for most people that are right-handed, it's going to be that top right-hand drawer. You want to make sure that it's deep enough that you can actually fit the diapers.
Yeah.
That's good.
Kind of come up a few times.
Because the diapers get big fast.
They do get big. They're so cute in the beginning.
They're so
and
tiny.
then, they get big. So we tackle the dresser or the changing table, so just making sure that everything, you can either file fold, or I really like to roll, like kind of burrito up the little onesies. You can still see what they are. They all fit really nicely. I love the foldable, like garment boxes, just to kind of keep, or dividers would work as well, to kind of keep everything organized and standing upright so that you can see what you have. We usually divide by kind of sleepers and nighties, onesies, pants, and then try to, if you can, maybe have room for the next size up, because that's just going to hit all of a sudden.
Well, that's the one thing when it comes with babies is they grow so fast. And so you oftentimes have multiple sizes, like in the closet or in the dresser, whatnot, because maybe during your shower or whatever, people gifted you, or maybe even hand-me-downs. People are like, oh, my kid outgrew it, let me pass it down. So you may have a spectrum of sizes from like 0 to 12 months, or maybe even longer. Do you have a specific kind of advice to these new moms of like, just do one size up, put the other stuff away?
So in the dresser, I like one size up. I think that's enough for the changing table. And then typically what we do is, if there's a closet space, we'll go ahead and hang all of the rest divided by size with the closet hanging dividers.
I'm just talking about them to somebody else. They're my favorite. They're brilliant. Yeah. The little garment tags, if you don't know what we're talking about, the little garment tags like that you would see at a store, and it literally hooks over the rod, and you could buy them on Amazon. I buy them at the Container Store just because I go to the Container Store often, but if you don't have one near you, you literally could buy them online. And I just use my label maker and I just create the sizes, and then as the kids outgrow, you could just say, okay, we're not in 0 to 3. We just either take that tag off and add 6 to 9 or whatever the size is. And that way you can easily find what you're looking for. And I love that, especially when in those newborn early years, because
so fast. It's just a couple weeks. And sizing is not always consistent too, right? So sometimes you're like, wait, this is a 0 to 3, but they don't fit in it. It's, you just need to have as many options clearly delineated as possible.
Sure.
System for having when they grow out of things.
We like to keep a basket in the closet, right? A donation basket for things that we don't want to save for a sibling or anything like that. And then also just like a too small basket where, they may want to save it either for sentimental purposes or for a sibling, a hand-me-down, or pass it to a friend. But that way, as soon as you realize that this is no longer something that your child is going to wear, you can put it somewhere. And then when the bag is full, you take the donations to the donation center, or you take them to your sister who's having a baby, or whatever the plan is. But it kind of moves it out of rotation really quickly.
So you're not standing in front of a huge pile of old clothes and having to sort through it.
I love that. And if just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I know in my house, I had 2 girls and they were the similar season.
Yes, ours too.
Right. So I knew, because you're boy moms. And so I knew that if I had something that my older daughter outgrew and it was still in good condition, it wasn't stained or whatever, and I wanted to save it for my younger daughter, I immediately just had a bin of stuff. And maybe I didn't run because I kept that bin in the attic or wherever you store that. But I love the fact that you have that kind of temporary holding space, that little bin basket, whatever. And then when you have 5 minutes, because finding 5 minutes for a new mom is no easy task.
Yeah, right.
You could just say, okay, this is all the stuff that you're going to keep can go right into that bin. So it's like you said, sweet.
The decision is made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do that for our moms. When we go into the house while they're at the hospital, we set up the nursery and put out the bins and, try to
set up a
make it a little easier, because you don't necessarily know that you're going to be making all those decisions, really soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I think it's just great. And I just love, again, that the level of intentionality that you guys are bringing to this, because again, you can look at it on a very surface level of saying, okay, we're going to do this, and this, but there's so much thought that goes into the why you're doing it, and the why you're doing it, and the so that after. And I love this whole thing. And again, for anybody listening out there, this isn't all that you do. I mean, you are more generalists. But this is, like you said, this is like your baby, no pun intended, and your favorite little package. And so I said, let's come in and talk about this. So I'm really, really grateful that you did. Tell our listeners, what is the best place for them to go to learn more, to find you, connect up with you, all the things?
Sure. Our website is www.roomsbreathe, BREATHE. Sometimes people forget the E.com. We're on Facebook at the same, Rooms to Breathe. And then our Instagram is HSV for Huntsville _ Rooms to Breathe.
And we'll have links to all of this in our show notes. So you do not have to worry about writing it down, whatnot. We'll make sure. Definitely go check out their stuff. Their website's great. And if you're in the Huntsville area and you're looking for a professional organizer, hook up with these ladies.
Yes, tell us.
They're awesome. They're awesome. And I'm trying to get them to come aboard our SBO partner program. So hopefully, maybe by the time this episode drops, they will be a partner. So we'll see. But in any event, we are going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we're just going to do our wrap-up questions. So sit tight. All right, ladies, this has been really fun, and it's bringing me back with the good and the bad, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm thinking of the, oh gosh, like that, those first days, but just what a gift it would be to have somebody that was like, wow, I never thought of this.
I'm one step ahead of you,
I want to take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I would have you on speed dial though. I would be like,
well, we do get a fair amount of post questions, maybe because, so we try to leave like little notes for them, like night sweats are normal. Here's your fresh towel. Like,
watch for mastitis,
like,
oh my gosh.
Kind of those health care things.
So we get questions.
I love it. I love it. Well, we always like to wrap up our episodes by asking our guests a couple questions. So the first question has to do with reading. I don't know. Are you guys readers?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we actually started this a couple years ago. And for anybody listening out there who is a reader, we have a Goodreads list for all of 2022, and we've started one for 2023. So you guys will be on that list. So what is a book that either you guys, and you don't have to be together, you guys can each have your own book, you've either gone back to, or something that you refer to other people, something that's been maybe in like transformational or really impactful in your lives?
I love this question.
Okay.
So one of mine is a guest that you had recently, Miss Eve Rodsky.
Love her. Fair play. Yep.
It really changed the way that I think about the division of our household labor, which is something that is good to think about when you're having a baby. These are some things that you may want to kind of get ahead of if you can. Yeah. So one of mine is fair play. I also have another one, if that's okay.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
It's The Lazy Genius Way by Kendra Adachi.
Yes. That we've had other people recommend that book too.
Really?
So yes.
Oh man. I mean, it's transformative. It's both practical and sort of philosophical, and it really helps me hone into what actually matters to me, which I very much appreciate. And then we actually share one.
We share, yes. Simplicity Parenting by Kim John Payne.
Okay. I have not read that book.
That's very good.
Yeah. Okay.
It's minimalism for parenting.
Yeah.
You know, and that's beautiful. And that's what I want.
Have you read Zoe Kim's book? Oh gosh, I want to say it's Raising Simple, but it's not, because that's the name of her handle. But she has a book, Minimalism for Families. I forget. It's in our show notes. But she was also a guest on our show, and she talks about, and she's got like just a great, real calming, practical approach to raising multiple kids, a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
Let's put that one on our list. man.
Definitely. Yeah.
I need all the simplicity parenting help I can get.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we'll make sure that we link up to all this. And so all our book recommendations, folks, are all in our show notes. But again, like I said, we're trying to, because people were like, do you just have a big list that we can just go through and see? And so we were like, yes, I would like it to be like on Goodreads. And then I said, wait a second, I can make a Goodreads list. So that's what we have. So if you go to Goodreads, look up this Organized Life podcast and it'll have it by year. So all the guests.
I love that.
And sometimes our guests will repeat. So obviously we might not have, even though we have like 50 guests on, we may have like 40 something books, because some books, it's also fun to see like, what are the repeats? I like to look at that and be like, oh, this was a popular book. So
Yeah.
Eve's being one of them. A few people.
It's life-changing. That episode that you did with her, like we were really fangirling over here. It was really
awesome. Oh, she's great. And then of course our wrap-up questions, because our show is all about honesty, authenticity, and knowing that in certain seasons we are thriving and other areas we just feel a little discombobulated or a little bit of a hot mess. So in this season of your life, ladies, and it could be personally, professionally, whatever, where do you feel the most organized and where do you feel a little bit of a hot mess?
Mine is, I feel pretty good about my calendar these days.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Especially, during sort of the end of the year, holidays, first of the year, it gets busy really fast. And I feel like I have done a really excellent job of sort of curating and being really intentional with what my family and I are going to participate in. I'm very proud of that.
Love it.
I'm a mess. My car, it's a mom mobile.
Well, you have a 3 to 5 year old, so
Yeah,
I can. Yes, you get in my book. You get a pass for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I need it. I have anything that you could possibly ever need in there, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And I think my most organized region of my life right now is probably paperwork. I feel really good about my paperwork situation. That's not been the case in the past. And it finally is like, okay, I think every piece of paper that comes in, I have a place for and a plan for, and it's usually the garbage.
You're probably the envy of a lot of people that are listening going, are you kidding me? Paper is like my nemesis,
It's so hard. It's so hard. And but it kind of drove me crazy more than a lot of other things did. So having that under control makes me feel better.
Sure.
And then as far as a hot mess, I think my husband, is that fair?
Yes, totally.
He's hot, but
he's very good looking. And also,
but honestly, I'd say my freezer's a mess. It's never going to be good. It's a terrible place. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So funny. So funny. Ladies, it's truly been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for doing what you do and really giving so much thought behind it. I love it. And I don't know if I would call myself a veteran organizer, but somebody that's been in this business for a long time, it just is so refreshing for me to see people coming up and really having the care behind it and loving a pretty bin and basket, but that not being the motivation of why you're doing it. And so that just, again, just like warms my heart as like,
Thank you, Lori. That's so kind.
Lady in the industry, that's what and so again, I really think it's so important. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate all of you guys out there. If you're not already subscribed to our show, please do us a favor and yourselves a favor and click the subscribe button. And depending on where you're listening on Apple or Spotify, it might be like a little plus sign. It makes sure that all of our new episodes get downloaded, and you can also have access to our complete back catalog with well over 300 episodes. And if you are new to our show and you're like, I don't even know where to start, we do a best of, just as a little cheat sheet for everybody. So every December, we always do a best of. So if you want to get a highlight reel of all of our favorite episodes and all of the most popular episodes from our listeners, you can just go back and scroll through and listen to some of those. And so again, we really appreciate you guys. And if you are new and you are enjoying our show, please share it with a friend. Like anything, our show grows through word of mouth. Feel free to leave us a review. We really do appreciate them, and it helps other people know that our show is worth listening to. So I We really appreciate all the support. Of course, we're on socials, This Organized Life podcast. And if you have a topic, a question, anything that you want, feel free to reach out to us, DM us, email us. All of our information is included in the show notes. So until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please spread the love and share it with your friends. And if this is your first time joining us, make sure to click the subscribe button wherever you are listening so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, please leave us a review so other people know that our show is worth the listen. You can also find us on YouTube and Instagram at This Organized Life Podcast. And if you'd like to connect with us, you can head on over to our website at simply the letter B like boy organized.com, which is filled with tons of resources, including free downloads, checklists, links to our amazing organizing partners, and all of our digital offerings. I'll see you next week for another episode of This Organized Life.